You're watching Fox 9 All Day.
Welcome to Fox 9 All Day. I'm Amy Hockert. We're so glad that you're with us here. Thursday, March 20th already. First day of spring. Can you believe it? Keith and Jennifer are going to walk us through what we have to expect today, and then kind of a mixed bag forecast for the weekend. So stay tuned for that. Also, a lot going on today. We have some breaking news that's been happening here at the state capitol. The state senator charged with soliciting a minor is out in the Senate. So Corn is on that. He's on the line right now. We're going to talk to Corn Hoggard, our Capitol reporter, in just a moment. A new lawsuit dropping right now. Former Teacher of the Year and his school now sued by a former student who says she was sexually abused by him. We'll take that announcement live when it happens here coming up shortly. And then we're going to also break down that preliminary report from the Delta plane crash in Toronto. That came down this morning. We're also going to meet a local photographer who makes really cool videos for nobody, he says. But when you see it, I think you'll like it, and I think you'll see that there's a lot to take away from him, and it just speaks to the passion people have for the things that they love, even when nobody's watching. And then a little bit later, please do yourself a favor and stick around for this. I'm telling you, it's going to be really, really great. The newest member of our stream team, Paul, is going to join us. Paul is from Australia, and he has some great stories, and you could listen to him talk all day long about all things, Australia. He's also a former producer for reality shows. For instance, Farmer Wants a Wife. In Australia, he was a producer, and he has just the best stories about it. That show season premiere is tonight on Fox, and we thought, what a perfect opportunity to bring Paul in and talk to him and dish a little bit about all the behind the scenes tea, because that's really what we want to know. All right, so let's get to some of these headlines. There is just a lot happening right now. So at the Capitol today, State Senator Justin Eichorn, he's going to be in federal court today facing child prostitution charges. Police in Bloomington saying that Eichorn solicited someone he thought was 17, but actually was a police officer trying to catch child predators. So let's bring in our Corn Hoggard, who's at the Capitol. Corn, a lot happening here, some big developments about his role in the Senate as well. Can you bring us up to speed?
Yeah, he resigned before Republicans were going to make a move to expel him. Still not 100% clear on how he resigned. He is currently in the Hennepin County Jail, hasn't been out. One of the first questions I asked was, how did he submit his resignation? They said he sent an email. I'm not sure how you do that from jail exactly, but he has submitted his resignation. They accepted it. He's no longer a member of the Senate here. So they had a very brief session, and then we had dueling press conferences from the DFL and the GOP. They both went at the same time, which was a little unusual, but I'm still absorbing. I didn't see the DFL one, so I'm still going back and seeing the video that our photographer Russ Wiesman got, but I was there for the GOP one, and basically Minority Leader Mark Johnson said that they read the details that were in the complaint yesterday, and that was that for them. They really felt like they had to get rid of him. So I mean, you I'm sure read the complaints. I think one of their biggest concerns was looking at that complaint. It seemed like he was very much fluent in the language of the sex worker, which to them took this to another level. Yeah, using acronyms, to describe things of such. Also, interesting, the conversation this was again all in the complaint, but the conversation that was had specifically about the age here, and how he had said in those text messages, 16 is actually an age of consent, and so there seemed to be an understanding there based upon on the complaint as well. So I know you're covering this today. You've got a ton that you're trying to juggle as always. But one of the other big things, and you'll have to tell me if this has happened yet or if it's happening, is some of the asks for funding from Xcel Energy Center, CHS Field. Those were some things that stuck out to us today too. Quick check. Still going on.
Oh, okay.
The House Capital Investment Committee started at 10:15, and as we came back from the Senate floor session, they had just started the ask for, as you know, more than $350 million to help update the Xcel Center and some of the arena area around there. I do not believe it actually addresses CHS Field, even though they mentioned it in the original filing, but I believe it's just the area around Xcel Energy Center. And the last time St. Paul apparently asked for money for any kind of arena or stadium issues, it was 2015 CHS Field. One of the things that they've been eager to point out is that Minneapolis has gotten hundreds of millions of dollars in the 10 years since St. Paul came and asked for money for any of their athletic arenas. So that's the case that they are currently making in front of the House Capital Investment Committee.
Okay, Corin, I actually am going to let you go because I know you've got stuff that you're trying to watch behind you too. So, but if we could check in with you maybe, in an hour or so, if things kind of calm down, if you get a break, we can catch up on some of this stuff because that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg of some really big things that are happening at the Capitol today. So,
absolutely.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Corin. Appreciate it. All right, let's go to this because we have a big announcement coming up here that we're going to take live at 1 o'clock today. And this is from attorney Jeff Anderson. He is representing a former student who is suing a Minneapolis charter school, claiming that the school should have known that one of its teachers was a danger to students. The former teacher at Best Academy in Minneapolis, again a charter school, was actually named Minnesota Teacher of the Year in 2016. Abdul Wright is his name, and he is actually separately charged with criminal sexual conduct with a minor. He has pleaded not guilty, but now this civil lawsuit coming down today, and we expect that announcement at about 1 o'clock. So again, we'll take that for you live when it happens, yeah, I think we'll have a lot more information at that point. Okay, Natalie, do you think is the rally? Okay, there we go. So let's go to this. This is happening right now here in Minnesota, also across the U.S. USPS Postal Distribution Center in Minneapolis, one of many rallies happening around the country protesting the idea of privatizing the postal service. So let's listen into this.
Not for sale. Not for sale. The U.S. mail. Not for sale. Or U.S. mail. Not for sale. All right. Woo! There you go. Perfect. Support the USPS. Check out the full frame. Post offices. The amendment of the Constitution. Protect our post office. Come on.
I'm just pulling up a little bit of information here. Hang on one second. You're just taking a look at some of these workers. Natalie and I have been watching some feeds from across the country as we've seen these rallies happening. And one second here. Well, we can go back to it in a little bit here when I can get some information pulled up. Just having a little bit of technical difficulty here getting this stuff up. Okay. All right, well, why don't we pull out of that for a second? We'll take you back to this, though. You can see people protesting. You can hear some of the people supporting, honking, driving by. And again, this is happening all over the country. Okay, let's do a couple of other things that we are watching today. And then, Natalie, if I can pull up a little bit more information, we can get back to that. So President Trump, these are some headlines that you're going to probably see today, expected to sign this executive order today. We've been hearing about this now for a little over a month, especially in the last several weeks, signing this executive order to dismantle the education department. But a reminder that a move like this, of this magnitude, of this type, would actually require the support of Congress. So that's happening later today, but just remember the caveat there. And then later this afternoon, something else that we're going to keep our eye on today is an availability for reporters that will bring you. Mayor Jacob Frey of Minneapolis and Police Chief Brian O'Hara are going to talk to reporters about what they're calling a significant and sustained decrease in crime in North Minneapolis specifically. They say that it includes the lowest number of gunshot wound victims since 2014 and includes a decrease in nearly all types of gun-related incidents, which they say is a testament to these ongoing efforts of law enforcement and community partnerships as well. So they're getting together at about 3:45 this afternoon, and we'll turn something around for you with that. But just know that that is happening as well today. And then I think let's do this really quick. A quick update. Kind of a minor thing, but interesting because the story's been in the headlines so much. So quick update on Joshua Reeby. He's the St. Cloud State college student who was declared a person of interest in the disappearance of University of Pittsburgh student Sudiksha Kananki. So as you may remember, he was detained in Puerto Rico, but then he was declared to leave after he was declared to leave the Dominican Republic. So he leaves the Dominican. Now TMZ is reporting that Reeby, who again has not been charged in anything here, got held up in the airport in Puerto Rico yesterday because his brand new U.S. passport wasn't actually properly stamped. So they were able to get him a replacement from the consulate there, local law enforcement apparently refusing to give his original passport back, even though a Dominican judge ruled he was allowed to go free. The Noticentro cameras there in Puerto Rico captured Reeby's father, Albert Reeby, and remember they're from Iowa. He's a St. Cloud State student. Caught the father at the airport after he was sort of separated from his son, and he was seen yelling to his son down the hall, "Ask for your lawyer," and then was pleading with reporters, saying, "I'm just a dad who had his son taken away. I don't understand. We just spent 2 weeks trying to stay together, and now I don't understand." So we'll update you as more information becomes available. It's not clear if he's still at the airport or if he was able to go. Okay, sounds good. So Natalie's saying let's do some quick little Vikings news, and we'll tease what's coming up because we've got some good stuff coming up, and then we'll take a quick break. So the Vikings have finally announced some press conferences here for some prominent new players. Yesterday, we heard from the defensive players, Javon Hargrave, from the 49ers, Isaiah Rodgers, Jonathan Allen. So big day. Today, we get to hear from some of the offensive additions. So Ryan Kelly, Jordan Mason, and Will Fries today. And then the team also saying that at some point we're going to have an in-person press conference with Kwesi Adofo-Mensah at some point. And imagine, how interesting that's going to be because of all the speculation around Aaron Rodgers and everything. So we'll see what happens and when that happens. And then as far as Kevin O'Connell goes, he hasn't made any plans to speak to the media and take questions. So they're saying that the next time might be at the annual league meeting, which is down in Florida starting on March 30th. So maybe we'll get some Q&A in there. Okay, when we come back, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're just getting started. This is so much stuff. I was telling Natalie, I feel like this is one of the days, probably since October when we started this live streaming, that this is maybe one of the days we've had the most content to sort of pick from, different live events and things like that. So hang with us. It's going to be a good ride. Hopefully we'll be able to bring you a lot of info. We have that preliminary report on the Delta plane that flipped in Toronto. We've got some regional headlines, and there's some doozies in there. There was something I saw last night about a Rochester hotel that made nearly $1 million in 2023, but you'll never guess how much of it was actually deposited into the bank. Also, Iowa Nice, how about you guys? Helped a busload of Minnesotans during the storms yesterday. And speaking of that, no storms, no big storms in our future. It's spring. Officially, it's spring. And here's Keith with a look at your forecast. We'll be right back.
All right, so much quieter today. Goodness, after yesterday's, well, in the metro, just a gusty day with winds gusting to 30 or 40 miles per hour. And of course, the barreling snow for southeastern Minnesota. We ended up with anywhere from 4 to 10 plus inches in southeastern parts of the state. It's nice to have a quiet day today. And by the way, welcome to our first day of spring. Spring kicked off at 4:01 this morning, and we do it upright. Plenty of sunshine, a high around 50 here in the Twin Cities. By the way, southeastern Minnesota getting all that sunshine as well, but with that snowpack, folks along that I-90 corridor, for instance, Rochester, highs only in the upper 30s today, thanks to the power of that snowpack. But blue sky and sunshine, a much lighter breeze, southwest winds 5 to 15 miles per hour. A lot of folks in the upper 40s today, but we'll tease that 50 into the afternoon. Looking ahead on that 7-day forecast, high of 53 tomorrow. A little earlier in the afternoon tomorrow as a cold front slides on by. Partly sunny sky with the cool front. An oddball sprinkle possible. Not very likely, but it's possible. Behind the cold front, we'll be in the 40s on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, bright, shiny, pretty dry, and then some rain showers roll on Saturday night and into Sunday. The back edge of that could have a winter's bite to it, especially central and northern Minnesota, but we could mix in a few snowflakes here in the Twin Cities. Staying in the 40s for the first part of the week. Next week, then back to the 50s by the middle of next week. Fox 9 All Day Live continues. We are back right after the break.
You're watching Fox 9 All Day.
Welcome back to Fox 9 All Day. It's the first day of spring, and Kevin from our IT department dropped that off on my desk. I think he gave one to Natalie too. This one says, "Be happy." I don't know where he got it, Natalie. I don't know.
Yeah.
No idea. We have no
Lori's
idea.
working on it.
Lori's getting to the bottom of it. Lori Fisher, by the way, is in the booth, and Natalie Brindiger is in the booth with us today. We have this awesome crew of women who I just adore and love working with. And Amber's out today, and Ryan is out today, but they just step right in on a busy day and pick it back up. And I just am so grateful for them. So happy spring to everybody, and just be happy. Just be happy. Okay, let's go through some regional headlines here. Starting in Winona. This is a story we've been covering now for about a week since we learned of the death of former Goodview Fire Chief Jason Gruitt. Well, he is laid to rest today. So the funeral was this morning at Remlinger Car Museum, and that was followed by a 15-mile procession to St. Mary's Cemetery in Miniska. Gruitt passed away about a week ago. He was 51 years old, a 19-year veteran firefighter, served as chief for 7 of those years, and he leaves behind his wife and 4 children. So flags are flying at half-staff today. They have been for several days here to honor Gruitt, and we just wanted to share this with you, and some other information that's been shared with us that we always want to sort of pair with this story is that if you do know someone who is struggling with their mental health, there are resources available for you 24/7, and please reach out if there's help that you need. And we've been asked to. They haven't talked a lot about the cause of death, but we've been asked to share that, and I think that that's really important to share that with you. Okay, let's go to Rochester now. The assistant manager of the Even Hotel, it's EVEN in capital letters, Even Hotel in Rochester, now charged with 12 felony counts of theft, accused of stealing from the hotel. So I saw this story last night in the Post Bulletin, and it was one of those where you kind of read it and go, did I read that right? So the hotel apparently took in more than $995,000 back in 2023. About $19,000 of that money was actually deposited. So the assistant manager, 39-year-old Beth Hansen, now charged with failing to deposit more than $975,000. How could this happen, you might ask? And company protocol does require 2 people make a deposit, but Hansen said that the company has been short-staffed, so she had to deposit that money alone. And this all came to light when the company discovered that no money was deposited for the entire month of December in 2023. That Post Bulletin article just goes on to talk a little bit about some of the allegations of Hansen spending a lot of money at local casinos as well. So if you want to check out more on that story, you can read that in the Post Bulletin. And all right, let's go up. Let's go up north to the Iron Range now. The Tower Harbor development is moving forward. Those of you up there may know what this is. The city signing an agreement with Eagle Ridge LLC to build a mixed-use project. So it includes about 7,500 square feet of commercial space, 14 upper-level apartments that would just overlook the harbor, and about a dozen townhomes to be built as well. So the city of Tower has been trying to just nail down a major development for the harbor site. It's been a 20-year journey for them. So this is a big step in moving forward for Tower. All right, Alexandria. Let's go to Alexandria, where I graduated from high school. The Cardinals. All right, city is trying a new strategy here to catch drivers breaking the law. License plate readers and cameras. It's coming to you. The police department in Alec joining more than 50 cities in the state to use something called Flock Safety. This is a nationwide company, and they provide 9 license plate readers that will be placed at the busiest intersection around the city. I'm trying to think which one that might be. It's been a while since I've been back and driven around the city, but maybe by the statue. All right, they will not, though, track traffic violations like speeding, running a red light or stop sign, or expired tabs. However, police will use the cameras to track traffic, and then they will be able to use it for vehicle descriptions during investigations as well. So this sounds like kind of a maybe a pilot program, but it's a brand new strategy that they're trying out in Alexandria. And if you call it Alex, we know you're not from Alexandria because it's Alec. Just putting that in there. All right. Down to Iowa now. This is a heartwarming story coming out of Wednesday's snowstorm. Apparently there was a bus of Minnesotans, including 45 children. They were on their way down to Florida when they got stuck in Sac City. The community, though, heard about it and they came out to help. They were able to camp out at the community center in Sac City. Here's how they showed up. The sheriff's office, county health department, everybody got together, got them beds, a warm, safe place to be, and then a local grocery store even stepped in, as you can see, provided them with some meals. So Iowa, thank you, competing for a title of Minnesota Nice here. Iowa Nice, love to see it. And you know, we do the same thing for you. We love you. I heart Iowa. All right, let's do this. Do you want to go back to the rally real quick? Okay. And Natalie, are you able to pop up your volume or your, do you want to? You don't have to.
Yeah, no, that's
I know
fine.
You're doing a million things.
No.
Okay, go ahead. So did you find a quote or something?
Yeah,
that we can
so we
use
have
here?
a quote from this group. They are in Minneapolis right now, and this is a quote that they have provided us since they are joining a protest nationwide. So they're saying the Postal Service is facing one of the most serious threats in our history. Reports indicate that the new presidential administration is preparing an illegal and hostile takeover of the USPS, threatening the stability of our jobs, our workplaces, and the public service we proudly provide. The American people deserve a postal service that remains true to its public mission and continues to serve communities across the country, no matter where you live. Now postal workers and the communities we serve are standing together to ensure our postal service stays in the hands of the people, not the billionaires. Let's make it clear, the country and that the U.S. mail is not for sale. So this is in Minneapolis, and this is over President Trump saying that he would like to privatize the U.S. Postal Service.
Okay.
And so this is their response to that.
Okay, and I just have, and I'm
going
going to give total 100% credit here to a reporter with MinPost, Anna Radalat. I'm just looking at her article that she just wrote on this because it's just timely. It just posted just a little bit ago here, and she's also talking about these rallies. Let's see, 2 in Minnesota on Thursday, in Minneapolis, and also in Duluth. And as we said earlier, an effort in about 150 cities across the country to protest this. And then also she has this note in here. Let's see, President Trump, who has said at times that the USPS should be privatized, said last month that he may put the now independent service under the control of the Commerce Department in what would be an executive branch takeover. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But this is the very latest from these USPS
we've
workers
seen
here.
rallies in like cities from New York to Atlanta, all
Yes.
over this morning. Like you said, we were watching them. So yeah, they'll continue throughout the day.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Should we take a
I think we can take a break here.
Okay. Sounds good.
We have
Let's
some
take a
nice
break.
Zen video as well.
Oh, which one do we have here?
We've got the St. Louis Park.
Oh,
community
can
band.
I?
So you tell us
should
all about
I just
Amy.
set this up just
Yeah,
a little bit? Okay, I would love to. So this is a treat for you. We love local Zen. So we have these moments where we say, please send us your Zen, right? Things that make you happy, things that are just palate cleanser, as we kind of are doing all these news stories. So Senior executive producer, I always get it wrong, Lori, I'm sorry. Senior executive producer Lori Fisher put this one in there today, and I love this. She was so excited to go the other night. The St. Louis Park Community Band is made up of about 65 musicians. They're from all over the metro. It sounds like their conductor, Stephen Lights, this might be his last time with the band, according to their Instagram account. But we're going to show you part of a performance of Evening Glory. And that is a piece that was composed by 17-year-old George Fisher. Lori is a proud mama of George because they performed this piece. So please enjoy this lovely Zen moment.
You're watching Fox 9 all day.
Back to All Day Live. Let's take you to the U of M, where head coach PJ Fleck is talking about spring practices starting for the Gophers. Let's listen in.
Educational time on the field, not just in practice. Like I said, we've had January and February with our players. You get time with them in the summer. You got an extended training camp. So we might take 4 or 5 practices and really use them as teach days on the field, where we pull back maybe the volume and pull back the speed and really dive into the teaching. And then you've got 10 other practices where you can really go out and practice and get after it. But like I said, is it 20? Is it 10? Is it 15? Why 15? We're going to do what we feel is really right and good for this particular football team. And I think we built a schedule and a creative schedule to, one, get our guys to Saturday in the fall, but also get our guys since January. And we're going to adapt accordingly as we keep going forward. But this is one of the more unique springs we've ever done. But this team is a unique team in a really good way. There's a really good football team coming up. And I really enjoy coaching these guys. I enjoy being around them. I know our strength staff absolutely love January and February, and they're fun in the meetings. This team's a really smart team. They have a thirst for knowledge of football. So spring ball will definitely be a little bit different, and I think you'll see that.
What were some of the goals you had entering the first transfer portal window, and how do you feel about what you're able to accomplish there?
Yeah, I think to answer your question a little bit is, I still believe in the high school development. I mean, you look at our pro day yesterday. I mean, most of those guys were high school developmental players from freshman through their senior year or their redshirt junior year, whatever it was. So we still believe in that high school development piece. We're always going to be able to fill some gaps and holes, and you're never perfect in recruiting. But if you can add depth, if you can add some starters, you can add more talent to your football team, we're going to do it. And I think we did that in a lot of key areas this year. But everybody's competing for jobs. That's what I've always said in spring, and I told our team that yesterday. Nobody's going to win a job in the spring. You're going to set yourself up to win the job in the spring, and you'll win it in training camp in the summer. So I feel really good about where we are with the portal and the players we brought in, but I feel really good about these young players that have done the high school route that we've brought in. There's some really, really talented freshmen that are going to play this year that I could see playing this year, whether that's just special teams or whether that's offense, defense, maybe that's starting. I mean, there's a lot of young players, whether they're freshmen, redshirt freshmen, or sophomores, that are really going to help this football team this year.
You talk about needing to answer questions. What's on the tip of your tongue of things that you like to know?
Yeah, well, one, I mean, you're starting the quarterback competition. That's going to be a critical piece after Max Brosmer had a great day yesterday, and I think he solidified himself as a draft pick. And he continues, I think, shooting up the draft board. When you look at him for who he is and what he's about, and you watch him live and you sit down in interviews with him, he is impressive as it gets. And everybody continues to talk about that. So we're replacing an NFL player. And we've got a lot of guys that are going to compete to do that, to win that job. So that's going to be really interesting to watch those quarterbacks go after it. Our running back position, obviously everybody knows about Darius, but, Femi Ijiboy, the freshman that, came on strong last year, and then we brought in some transfers to be able to help that. Our offensive line, we lost 4 of the 5 starters. But I feel really good about the guys we brought in. I feel really good about the high school players we brought in, the Tony Nelsons, the Ashton Beers, the Nathan Roys of the world, Brett Carrolls. Those are the high school development guys. They've done a great job. So Greg leading the way that way and then bringing in the transfers. I mean, that's going to be a really key battle. Let's see. I think our safety position allows us to have incredible versatility. The corner position is going to be critical to be able to answer some questions there. Losing Ethan Robinson, who vertical jumped 42 yesterday. You all got a chance to see that. It was good to see his dad there too. And then Justin Wally, who I think is one of the better football players that's out there right now. Maybe a top 100 player, in this coming draft. I mean, he's a special player. But we've got guys that play football. Saquon Bryant's played a lot of football for us, did a great job in the bowl game. And then again, you've got that young development talent, the Sam Madu's of the world. And we brought in Jalen Bowden. You got Rylan Kelly, who's been here a long time. You got Mike Gerald, from Houston. So that's going to be fun to watch all these guys compete. We've got some older guys in the D-line that have been in here, been with us. Then you got some young guys that we need to develop that are going to have to play for us too. So this is a really fun time of year because you find out who loves football, who wants to really be coached, who's really wanting to compete for those jobs, and you're surprised by a few guys when you start. Okay, he had a really February, but man, he's really coming on strong in the football piece. Or hey, this guy's not playing as much as he was in the weight room. Those are the things we're going to find out here soon. I can go on and on. I mean, the kicking situation.
PJ Fleck saying he could go on and on, and we could definitely listen to him talk about this. A lot of people are very excited for the Gopher football season to get started. Just really quickly here, wrapping that up, it looks like so 2 open practices, athletes Tuesday, March 25th. And then the open practice for the general public is going to be on Tuesday, April 15th at the team's indoor facility at Athletes Village. So mark your calendars, Gopher fans, if you want to go check that out. All right. So you love doing something if you would do it even if no one was watching. Take a look at this.
I'm making stories by capturing what I see with my camera and then putting it in a YouTube video, in a story, in a film. I can go back and relive those moments. I captured the May 10th G5 Aurora storm with my daughter Emma. That's a memory I'll always have. Haley, my 6-year-old, she's starting to get more interested in being in my videos. So that's also another angle, so getting my kids involved, which gets them outside, which is another reason why I make videos that nobody watches.
So I saw this guy, Minnesota guy, on social media recently, and I thought, super talented photographer, and he's doing these videos, and by doing them, he's teaching a lot of people how to capture just some of the most beautiful moments outdoors. So I thought we got to kind of share what he's doing here. So Scott McNally, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hi, Amy.
We appreciate it. Great videos. Did Haley forgive you for forgetting how old she was?
I don't know. She doesn't watch my video. She'd rather watch kids dancing that get 6 million views for 30 seconds of work.
So good. All right, let's back up a little bit, Scott. So tell us what you do and why.
Yeah, so I have a real job. I work for 3M. So in my free time, which isn't much, I love photography. And kind of my thing is finding the ordinary here in the Twin Cities and trying to make a picture that's extraordinary. And to do that, I mean, there's nothing too dramatic here in the Twin Cities, so it all comes down to the conditions, the light. So I like to do aurora and sunsets and sunrises and storms and the night sky, like the Milky Way. So trying to find creative things here right in the Twin Cities and, maybe an hour away. Yeah. Is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and so I want to go through a couple of things with you. You sent us some great photos and videos, and I love the teaching element here. So can you talk about this? When you talk about it doesn't have to be anything fancy. What are we seeing with the tree shots here?
Yeah, so these trees, it's a grouping of trees at a local nature park that's like 15 minutes from my house. And this is kind of just goes to show that you can make an interesting image just close to home with just a group of trees. And a lot of it comes down to the different light that you can see. So this is what you call the belt of Venus that you have right now. That's Earth's shadow, that blue beam going, that blue ridge going across. Here's obviously the Milky Way. And this is pretty impressive. This was last summer. And light pollution is a big issue with night sky. And here I'm in Woodbury, that was out in Afton. We have pretty significant light pollution from St. Paul, so that was a pretty impressive shot. But just kind of going through here's, a stormy look with these same trees. So, I have what I call Explore Every Day, and that kind of comes from actually a children's book that I wrote back in 2015. That's not really for sale anymore, but I have a children's book. And where Explore Every Day comes from is when I would autograph it or sign it for a kid, I would write Explore Every Day and then, write their name. And the idea is just get out and explore. If as this book was written for like a young child, maybe you're exploring your backyard. And as you get older, you get a bike. Now you're exploring your neighborhood. You're going out to a local patch of woods or catching tadpoles in a pond. All things that I used to do. And now I want to kind of show that's what my kids can do. And one cool thing about my book is like all the animals in it are from Minnesota. Oh, cool. So it's something you can see here. And kind of with my photography, everything I shoot for the most part is here in Minnesota, in the Twin Cities. So I think you can make really dramatic photos just in your neighborhood.
Yeah. And how have you gotten your kids interested? Because, you know, if you have kids, and it depends on the age, obviously, but are there things you do to kind of get them excited about, I mean, photos are so accessible nowadays. You know, when you and I were growing up, we had to go to the drugstore and get things printed out and whatever. Is it kind of lost on them because it's so accessible? How do you get them excited about it?
Yeah, I mean, when I came up in photography, it was film photography, and I told you I even have a journalism background, so my first journalism job, I was the sports photographer also. That was on film. Wow. Like, I can't even believe today that I was shooting on film. Yeah. You know, if you mess that up, like, you just don't get it.
Yeah.
But no, now kids, it's, you know, instant gratification. You know, my oldest daughter, Emma, she just got her first cell phone. You know, she's at that age, so we're going on vacation next week for spring break, and her comment was, "This is my first trip with a phone and a camera." So she's super excited about that. And Haley, my 8-year-old, has gone through a number of, you know, little kid getting older cameras. So they're both into it. They're maybe not into storm chasing, and staying up for the aurora overnight's kind of tough at their age.
Yeah.
But they definitely, you know, see me doing it, and they get it. They like it.
So on the spectrum of, you know, simple tree in the backyard all the way to, you know, chasing storms, can you give us like a tip for sort of, you know, a beginner who just wants to do something very simple, to maybe, you know, best tip for chasing auroras, to, you know, even something like this kind of storm chasing?
I would say refine your skills in your backyard. Like, my neighbors probably think I'm crazy. I always have a tripod going, you know, shooting something. We just had the lunar eclipse last week. I didn't get a very good shot of that because I couldn't waste a whole night doing that. I was busy the next day. But refine your skill in your backyard if you have to. You know, practice doing, I shoot a lot of time lapses. You know, practice just shooting time lapses in your backyard. Practice composition. Practice lining up trees. Wait for sunrise. Wait for sunset. You know, if I can't go out storm chasing, I will storm chase in my backyard if I have to with my drone.
So lighting, super important. You know, obviously a lot of people like you don't have time to like watch the forecast and say, oh, well, this is going to happen over here. But lighting, how about equipment? What are you using? Is there something that you recommend? First, can I just say this? How do you get a picture of the moon? I've always wanted to ask a professional photographer. How? Because it never turns out.
So moon photography is really hard, actually, because the moon is so overexposed compared to the night sky. So I try to shoot the full moon every single month, and I try to make a video about that. But I always want to shoot it the day before, because the moon will rise during twilight yet, or even before sunset. And to me, a picture with the full moon with the landscape still in the image is much more compelling than just a black picture with the moon in the middle of it.
You're right. Yeah.
So my tip for moon photography is try to do it the day before, and try to find something. You know, we're in Minnesota, it's flat. I'd shoot like with a lot of water towers, or find a tree or a barn silo. We don't have a lot of stuff that sticks up off the ground, so you've got to get creative. How
about auroras? We're looking at a lot of your aurora photos right now. These are, you know, they can be tricky. You can narrow it down a little bit, but never quite get it exactly, you know, the timing right. So what do you do?
Yeah, so I mean, 2024 was probably, there was more aurora photographed in 2024 than probably the history of the world. It was an amazing year for aurora. I think I made 8 different videos just on the aurora alone. And there are all kinds of apps out there, and if you find the right people on, you know, Twitter, X to follow, they basically tell you, hey, tonight be on the lookout, and then your apps will tell you when it's probably going to be out. And a lot of it, you just got to go. And I've never regretted a night just going out. I think I've gotten to the point where I'm pretty confident I'm going to see something if I go out now. But the aurora is 100% unpredictable. Everything can look perfect and it doesn't happen. So just going out, I mean, maybe you're going to hear coyotes howl. Maybe you're going to take a picture of the Orion constellation. Maybe you're going to see something different. You know, one night I was going out and I had 2 gigantic bucks run up the road right in front of me that I videoed. You're never going to regret going out with a camera.
Yeah, absolutely. This is really cool that you're, you know, passionate about this. It's something you just love doing. Obviously, everybody's so busy in life, but you're finding little pockets of time to do this, and then to make these videos too and share them. So where can people kind of find your stuff and get some of these tips?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it now. I still call it Twitter. Scott McNally. On YouTube, that's really where I spend a lot of my time
Yeah.
now. You know, I'll spend between going out and shooting the video and then editing, you know, 5 to 12 hours for a video like 3 people watch. But I have that memory. Now it's like a living
Yeah.
photo. If
Yeah.
you search on YouTube for Scott McNally, I think there's 2 of us. One's a bodybuilder. It's clearly not me. And the other one is me. So pretty easy to find on YouTube.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, your videos are great, and I think what sort of caught my eye is that you're not like trying too hard, and I mean that in like the best complimentary way, because you know, a lot of people they just, it feels like they're really trying hard, and you're just like a normal dude from Minnesota who's just going out with a camera, and you're just like, I don't care if anybody's watching this. This is for me. This is for, you know, my kids, and
Right.
but yet I still, as I was watching, I was learning a lot from you as I was watching.
That's by design, Amy.
Yeah.
So when I wrote my book, it's, you know, we talk about the sun setting in the west, the moon rising in the east. That's teaching, right? Without teaching, you're teaching, you know, kindergartners which way the moon rises and which way the sun sets. And my YouTube videos, you know, my thought, they're more like little mini films, more cinematic, right? Like, my thought is you grab a cup of coffee on a Sunday morning and sit down, because, you know, some of them are almost half an hour. And there's moments of instruction throughout it, but it's not a how-to. I'd probably be more successful on YouTube if they were how-to, or if I did what's in my bag and gear reviews. That doesn't interest me. So I just go out and try to give little bits of advice and, you know, what I'm doing throughout it. But to me, it's more of a little mini movie. Like, just go out and see what you. I mean, a lot of mine are shot within 10 minutes of my house. You know, so
cool.
If you can make a cool picture 10 minutes from your home, like if I'm in Woodbury, you know, if you're in Minnetonka, if you're in Plymouth, if you're in Farmington, I mean, you can go find cool pictures close to your house.
I love it. So Scott McNally Creative, is that the website?
That's my website.
Okay, perfect. And then Scott McNally, not the bodybuilder, but the really talented photographer. Thank you for joining us today. It's been really cool to chat with you, and I have enjoyed kind of just living vicariously through your experiences, finding so much joy outside, even in your backyard. So
thanks so much for reaching out, Amy.
Absolutely. All right, take care, Scott.
All right.
Okay. All right, let's take a break. Natalie, you want to take a quick break? Yes? Yeah. All right, music. Okay, let's take a break and come back, but we're going to keep going. We've got another hour plus here on All Day Live, and we've got you covered on everything that's happening here locally, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 9 All Day.
Welcome back to Fox 9 All Day. Senior executive producer Lori Fisher in the middle, and then Natalie Brinegar, senior producer?
Yep, that's right.
Yes, I nailed it. I'm so glad you guys are here. This is the part where we wrap the first hour as we head into the second hour. Lori, you were telling us something about somebody on the Vikings, is that?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring this up really quick.
Yeah.
The Vikings signed Rondale Moore, so I wanted to go down the rabbit hole and figure out what he was all about, and he's a wide receiver. But get this, he's only 5'7". He was a preemie, and he is described as freaky fast, so that's fun.
I love
But
it.
what I was thinking, Amy, is in his bio, it says he started doing backflips at the age of 10. So, do you know where I'm going with this?
Yes, I do.
We lost Cam Bynum for like the cool touchdown stuff, although he was on defense. So I'm thinking maybe he can take the place of Cam and do the really cool touchdown celebrations.
It's fantastic. I love it. Rondale.
We've got to get him coordinating, choreographing.
Yes.
All those
Yes.
every week.
That's
A new
big
dance,
goal.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, we got to figure out what year he was born and see what kind of movies he likes.
Yeah,
exactly.
He's probably really young.
It's first day of spring, you guys. Woo-hoo. Jennifer will be here in a little bit to talk about that. But I think when you think about spring, some people think about spring cleaning. I don't know. Do you think about spring cleaning?
Natalie, you
I
wanna go first?
definitely do. I love it. I feel like I become like a new person when it gets like kind of warm outside. I turn off the heat like probably really early. Like in the stages where you still need the heat on, like I don't care. I'll turn it off for a day if it's going to be nice, like, and then 20 degrees the next day. I'm turning the heat off for the day. I'm opening the windows.
Yeah.
I am like organizing my closets. I am getting, okay, I have 10 bags to take to Goodwill or something. Like I love it.
Lori?
I'm really stuck right now on those Instagram reels where people are showing you how to organize. And the other day, I may or may not have dropped about $200 on Amazon on organizational deals.
Send me
I
those
know.
links.
We need to
But,
keep
like,
Lori
it's like-
off Instagram.
But I got these cool bags and I got these cool hangers and all the things. But I'm going with that whole old motto of what sparks joy.
Okay.
Right? So you're supposed to say, like, does this spark joy? And if not, you get rid of it. And
See you later.
If it does, then you keep it, or you do the middle ground and you go, I'll pack it away and then I'll bring it back sometime.
That's a good
Amy,
way to do it.
what about you?
Yeah. What's our out time, guys?
We're going to go for 56, then we're going to have a
56?
couple
Okay.
minutes of zen.
Oh, okay. So 56. Okay. Don't you love how I actually pay attention to timing? Unlike some other anchors around here, I'm not going to name names.
Wow.
Well, I could name names.
Uh-oh,
and you all know
Amy.
who I'm talking about.
I don't want to deal with that later.
Randy Meyer. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding. We love Randy. No, really quickly, yeah, I don't ever plan for it because a feeling has to like hit me. Like I'll wake up on a Saturday morning and if it's sunny or whatever, I'll be like, this is the day. And then I'll just start doing and cleaning, open up the windows. It feels great. If I say, oh, I'm going to do it this Saturday, I promise you it's not going to happen because then I'll be like, oh, now I have to do this thing, right? And then also, you'll appreciate this, especially Lori. I have to be listening to like my 80s, 90s music when I'm doing it, right? There's that meme that's like,
play that throughout the house, and as Natalie said, you open up every window, and then your neighbor's like, okay, Amy's cleaning.
You've seen the meme where it's like, you're old when the music that you used to listen to at the club, now you're listening to cleaning your house. That is me 100%. So yeah, good stuff. Okay, guys, we have another hour to go. You ready?
I know, there's so
Buckled
much
in?
coming up.
Natalie is doing such a great job at just the center of all of this. With Director Leo, of course. Director Leo. Gotta give him props.
Thank you, as always, Director Leo. Thank you.
Well, we have a couple minutes of zen here from Scott, who we just talked to. So it's beautiful. So let's listen to that into our break. We'll see you at 1.
Are we ready to go? Yep. Okay, welcome back to All Day Live. We're going to take you to a live announcement here from attorney Jeff Anderson, who's representing a former student who's suing Minneapolis Charter School and a teacher. Let's listen.
Is Eric Mahmoud, a very prominent and powerful figure in this community who has received awards and acclaim for educating communities of color and kids in it. This complaint identifies, again, some choices that he made to do what he could to first ignore complaints and dangers of predators in the school. Second, to continue to promote those predators. And third, to do everything he could to protect his image and his reputation that he has garnered through this school. So we are really alarmed and enraged by what we've now learned and it was included in this complaint. Because for years we have been prosecuting a civil action against Best Academy and Eric Mahmoud for the choices he made in protecting Aaron Hermstead, who is now a convicted offender and charged again with offending kids and students at that school and elsewhere. And we learned in that case that Eric Mahmoud made serious choices about not only hiring that guy with a history of offenses prior to the hire, but continuing him under circumstances where he knew and should have known that this guy was an extraordinary danger. Hermstead, or Germstead, as he is sometimes known, has probably abused over 150 kids, according to police accounts. So, in the middle of that litigation, we have a courageous young survivor and her family come forward and report to us that this prominent teacher, hired and promoted by Eric Mahmoud, that is Abdul Wright, who received the Teacher of the Year award in 2016, who had been hired, promoted, protected, and then had something to do with allowing him to be acclaimed, and Eric Mahmoud had a lot to do with that. And at the same time, Eric Mahmoud was promoting both his own stature and the stature of Abdul Wright. Abdul Wright was sexually assaulting and repeatedly grooming Doe 605, a student at that school who was then 14 years old, who Abdul Wright had begun to groom along with a number of other friends to build trust in both the parents and in the child, and then repeatedly engage in sexual conduct. And it became so repeated and so
yeah, I'm zooming in. I'm not sure what time
was really amiss here.
Is something going on
he
in here?
discovered texts and calls from Abdul Wright to his stepdaughter.
I don't think
that
so.
clearly signaled
Yeah. Yeah.
sexual abuse. Something really wrong. And what did the stepfather do? He went to the founder, to the prominent leader of the school, Eric Mahmoud, and said, there's something going on with my daughter, my stepdaughter. Here are the text, here are the messages, and here's what is happening at 3 a.m. in the morning. This is wrong. What did Eric Mahmoud choose to do? Again, turn a blind eye to this explicit report by this stepdad, the same way he turned a blind eye pertaining to another offender, Hermstead. Even after the report by the stepdad to Eric Mahmoud about the concerns that he had, Wright was allowed to continue, both as a teacher in a position of prominence and power and stature over this student and others, and continue to abuse her. So when they came forward and reported this to us, that resulted in the filing of this suit yesterday, we're stunned and enraged. And why so? Because for 5 years, we have been focusing on the perils that have allowed it to persist at the best academy under the leadership of Eric Mahmoud, and the choices that he and his staff continue to make to protect offenders and not the kids. It's not a safe school, and it hasn't been, in our view, for a decade. Why do I say a decade? In the case of Abdul Wright, we know there was police reports made and recorded that he had sexually assaulted a colleague teacher. And there was a police investigation. And that police investigation, knowledge of it, went to Eric Mahmoud's Human Resource Department led by his wife. Ignored, so that Abdul Wright continued in prominence and to receive the Teacher of the Year award. That same year that he received this award, where he's holding in this picture, he's abusing Doe 605 at the age of 14 and 15. At that same time, Aaron Hermstad has been permitted to have been hired and as a prominent teacher and coach abusing multiple kids in this community. So many that we've lost count. And so when I speak to this, I speak with great sorrow. I speak with great sadness. And I really speak to it with great alarm. And I am enraged at what this man, who's so prominent in this community, with so much stature, has chosen to do time and time again. Promote himself, promote the school, promote predators at the peril of how many kids? And not just this courageous survivor, Doe 605, but many others that we know about. So with that, I
Okay, so we may have lost that feed, but you were just listening to Jeff Anderson, who is an attorney who's been really at the forefront of sexual abuse litigation, and you've heard from him many, many times over the years as he's represented survivors of sexual abuse. So just to sort of recap here, so there's a civil lawsuit filed today. And he's representing a former student who is suing Minneapolis Charter School Harvest Best Academy. Okay, sorry. I think we're at a Q&A point here, and I think we do have that shot back, so let's go back.
All right. We paused for a moment, and I want to go back and clarify something. We are outraged for reasons I've already stated. And particularly because Doe 605's father, not stepfather, father is the one that reported to Eric Mahmoud serious concerns about suspicions of sexual abuse of his daughter. And Eric Mahmoud made the choice to continue Abdul Wright in that powerful position and thus permitted the abuse of his daughter to continue because Mahmoud turned a blind eye. It also needs to be emphasized that Eric Mahmoud, as an educator, is required by law in Minnesota to report to law enforcement. He made a conscious choice not to report to law enforcement. And as a result, Abdul Wright was allowed to continue accessing Doe 605 and continued to do grievous and serious harm to her. And for those reasons, we are particularly alarmed and particularly enraged to find ourselves speaking out again about problems at this school and run by that man that permitted that teacher and others to do what they've done. So with that said, I know Molly Burke, you have something to add to what the father did or tried to do that even makes this even more egregious. Tell us more about that.
So after Doe's 605's father went to the head of the school where the teacher worked who was hurting his daughter with his concerns, very specific concerns and evidence of inappropriate conduct, and was shut down with no response. He was left confused, shocked, and wondering what else can he do to keep his daughter safe. As a father, he knew his daughter was at risk and being hurt. So he went to law enforcement and he sought out a restraining order on behalf of his daughter to try to keep this teacher away because Eric Mahmoud would do nothing to help. So he took it under his own initiative to seek a restraining order to keep his daughter safe. It ended up that with that legal method, Abdul Wright had to show up in court and had to agree with Doe 605's father, make an agreement to limit his contact to appropriate teacher-student conduct. Her father had to do this on his own with the tool that he could think of, the best tool, because of the meeting with Mahmoud and his failure to take any action and to be responsive to the concerns in any way.
And because Eric Mahmoud chose to do nothing and again turned blind eye, Dad took additional action. Eric Mahmoud continued, even after that, him in the school and in this position of prominence. And so to me, this whole enterprise run by Eric Mahmoud is about profit and prosperity, about awards and acclaim, And little, if nothing, has been done to keep the kids in the school safe from predators like Wright or predators like Hermstead. And that's why we sound the alarm today. Thank you.
Okay. So we've been watching
Check this out.
That live feed there from St. Paul and attorney Jeff Anderson, who is representing a young woman and her family in a civil lawsuit against Harvest Best Academy. He specifically called out Eric Mahmoud, who's the CEO of that school, saying that they knew that a teacher there, Abdul Wright, was a danger to children before he sexually abused this student. Abdul Wright, Minnesota Teacher of the Year in 2016. This is a story that our Fox 9 investigators broke here within the last year. So this is kind of the next phase in this. Abdul Wright's criminal trial is scheduled for this summer, and they. Okay, Natalie's telling me it's back. Let's see if we can go back to it and see if there's some more Q&A. Okay, it's okay. Yep, no, we've had a little trouble with that feed, so no problem. Okay, why don't we take a break, and then we will come back and we're going to reset a little bit. We still have a lot of news that we want to get to. Meteorologist Jennifer McDermott is here because we're talking about the first day of spring. It's a glorious thing for so many people who are ready for more sunshine and milder temperatures. So we will be right back. All Day Live continues right after this. Or email back to. Oh. Welcome back to All Day Live. Sorry, the fan's blowing in here. Papers are blowing everywhere. That should teach me not to print stuff out. Just gotta have papers because sometimes the stuff doesn't work great, and you gotta. I'm old school. I still use a paper calendar. What can I say? All right, you know who's not old school? You know who's like the hippest, coolest person I know? Jennifer McDermott. Hi.
Amy, actually, I use a paper calendar.
I love you even more. That's so great. Oh, man. One time I went into Target and I was asking the woman in the aisle, I was like, hey, do you know where I could find an address book? And paper, and she looked at me and she was just like, you know, she's probably 20 or something. And she was like, what is that? It's like, oh gosh, I feel so old.
A book of addresses?
Wait,
What?
you write them down?
Yeah.
So, anyways, a day to write home about today. First day of spring.
Woo!
How are you feeling? Because I mean, how far along are you now?
I am 26 weeks pregnant.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm getting close to the third trimester, and little girl, she's growing and she's definitely moving. She's very active. She likes to wiggle a lot. But yeah, I'm excited because she'll be arriving in June when it's nice and warm, and yeah, it'll be really nice.
We talked about this earlier with Natalie and with Lori, but are you a big spring cleaning person?
I have to clean. If I have the day off and I'm sitting at home and there's just stuff out and about, my mind will be so occupied to the point where I have to just take care of it. I have to go do that thing of laundry, or I have to Windex these windows because the smudge on it is just driving me nuts before I can relax.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm like a big spring cleaner, but I'm a fan of clean things year round.
Yeah. Well, have you had that sort of nesting thing that happens sometimes when you're pregnant? Has that happened?
It's starting to happen. I'm like, okay, Gio, my husband, we need to, figure out what's baby girl's room gonna be, and where's it going to be, and what kind of crib do we need for her. And I'm starting to get into that nesting phase. And one of my big nesting things with Francesco, our firstborn, was I had to have my car detailed. I don't know why, but it had to be detailed. It had to be clean inside and out. I was not going to put a baby in my car until it smelled like a brand new car. So that's one appointment I need to get set up because, I don't know why. That was just like one of my things, one of my ticks.
I get it. Yeah, Randy will tell you all about that
clean.
too. Randy Meyer, big on washing his car. Probably a lot of people washing their car, especially because everybody kind of thought earlier in the week that we were going to have this big snowstorm on Wednesday, and then you guys kept telling us every day we kept getting closer, and you're like, this thing is sliding south. So we missed out on that. Do we feel like that's going to be kind of, we can never say the last, but do we feel like we're going to have a break for a while, or how are we looking?
Okay, so the calendar did say today's the first day of spring. It began at 4:01 in the morning. However, Mother Nature sometimes has different plans for us. So the next couple of days we'll be in the sunshine. It will be really nice, really beautiful. And areas that did pick up snow, we'll begin to see that snow melt very quickly. However, towards the end of the weekend, we do have a chance of a wintry mix. Yes. Chance of rain, maybe a little bit of snow on the backside of our next storm system. But that's something that's still a few days out. We're going to be keeping an eye on it. It's not looking super impactful. If anything, it looks like it'll be occurring on Sunday when majority of us are perhaps off work or not in school or don't have to be out and about traveling. So that's good news. But speaking of yesterday, I have some snow totals written down.
Yeah.
Bryceland, 9.5 inches of snow. Chatfield, 8.5 inches. Blue Earth, 8 inches. Ridgeway, these are all down towards southern and southeast Minnesota. Ridgeway, 8 inches of snow. Fillmore, 7.6 inches of snow. So we didn't get anything in the Twin Cities metro, not even a raindrop, not even a snowflake to just kind of like tease us a little bit. But areas down south, man, they got slammed. But it's that heavy, wet snow. So a lot of that is, as I mentioned, going to melt pretty quickly because our sun angle this time of the year is just higher and stronger and more powerful. And one thing to note about spring starting, the first day of spring, now the equinox is on the days where our days and our nights are equal. So they're 12 hours each. And each and every single day after the first day of spring, our daylight gets longer than our nighttime. So yeah, we're going to have the sun in our sky for more than 50% of the day beginning today. and extending that way until we get to the fall equinox, which is later in September.
Yeah.
But with the power of the sun and the angle and how long we have daylight now, a lot of that snow is going to melt. And one other thing I want to point out that's so fascinating, it's not great, it's not exciting. It's obviously devastation for some people, but this just goes to the power of Mother Nature, is that yesterday in Illinois, there were several tornado reports around 2 or 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Yeah. Little redundant there, but they had tornado reports around 2 or 3 p.m. and then later that evening picked up 4 inches of snow.
What?
So it's wild how chaotic our atmosphere can be sometime, and especially in the spring, we just have these colliding air masses where spring is trying to budge in, but winter is like, hey, no, I'm still here. I'm not letting go that easy. So we have those two really high contrast air masses, and sometimes we just get this wild weather. And yesterday was that case for some.
My goodness. Yeah, it was crazy, and really a good, it was interesting to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit on like just the forecasting aspect of all of this, because this time of year, even as you're talking about what could happen on Sunday and saying, we still don't know yet, and people might say, well, but it's Thursday, why? But look what happened with that last storm, and March right. Forecasting has to just absolutely drive you guys nuts, because it's just like, it's like whack-a-mole. I mean, it's just really tough to...
It's as wild as the March Madness basketball bracket.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, thanks, Jennifer. Appreciate you. Also, where are you? What's the space behind you?
I am in the studio, so this is where we hang out in the Weather Center. So we have our computers here, and then the green screen is
the craziest thing.
Over there.
A space where I am every single day, practically, of my life, and I'm like, where are you? I couldn't figure it out because of this sort of what we call the shower glass behind you. Yes. I never have seen it from this angle, looking back at the anchor desk. So
yeah, you're usually sitting right there.
It's lovely. All right, thanks, Jennifer. We'll see you a little bit later doing the weather. Appreciate you. Okay, do we want to go to Corin next? Do you think?
Yeah, so we're gonna go to Corin next. Okay, I'm just gonna have to do a little
Nope, you do what you gotta do. And then while you're doing that, I'll let folks know too that we are getting Matthew Buckley Wiz on the line. He's a familiar face to those of you who watch All Day. He's a former decorated Navy pilot who has weighed in several times for us after plane crashes and investigations and things like that. And he really does a really good job of kind of breaking things down. So we're going to talk about the preliminary report on the Delta plane crash that happened in Toronto last month. We had him on right after that happened, and he had some really interesting things to say as we were all trying to, you don't want to try to diagnose it in real time, but also there are things that you can see as an experienced pilot, somebody who has flown that route many, many times in that type of a plane. And now we have this preliminary report out. So we'll go through some of that with him. And then also we're getting Corin on the line, also Natalie, and you just let me know when he's ready to go. But a ton of stuff at the Capitol today, more than we normally. There he is. You don't even need to tell me. There's the man himself. Corin, thanks for taking a break. I know you've got a lot of things that you're watching and keeping track for us today, but can we start off with what happened just, I guess, a few hours ago, late this morning, with State Senator Justin Eichorn?
No longer a senator. Eichorn,
yeah, right.
Just Mr. Eichorn now. He did resign from his position in the Senate, and that was, 2 days ago, he was arrested for solicitation of a minor, 3 days ago now. And so there was a lot of pressure from the GOP, even his own party, to resign. They were going to bring a motion to expel him from the Senate today, but they didn't have to do that because he resigned. He is still in jail. I just received the email of his resignation, so it's unclear exactly how he did this because he is still in jail, but yeah, he has, I don't know how well you can see that, but he sent an email to the governor's office announcing that I'm resigning my seat in the Minnesota Senate for District 6 effective immediately. I must focus on personal matters at this time. It has been an honor to serve in the Minnesota Senate. That is signed, sincerely, Justin Eichorn. But Mr. Eichorn still in the Hennepin County Jail, although right now he may be over in the federal court because he has an arraignment on his federal charges at 1:30. So he's probably there, but he's no longer in the Senate.
Okay. Yeah, we're kind of watching those moving parts this morning, and then also some hearings, some big hearings today. A lot of people are talking about one involving some funding requests from the CHS Field was another one. Can you bring us up to speed on some of that?
Sure, and that one, passed through today, but it's still kind of an iffy thing. They're asking for more than $350 million, about half the funding for a project to renovate Excel Center and all the area around there. Major ask. This would be it's in capital investment, which means essentially they're not asking for the money out of the general fund for Minnesota. They're asking the state to borrow money to give to them so that they can do this. And that, they typically have a very large bonding / capital investment that they make. Although usually those are done in even years, but that was just a precedent before. In 2023, they did an entire bonding bill. And then in 24, which would normally be the year to do bonding, they didn't do it at all, even though they did talk about it. So anyway, St. Paul trying to renovate Excel Center and the area around there. They're making a pretty big ask. It's still alive for the moment, but we'll see how that shakes out when they actually have a capital investment bill.
Okay. Is there any, I know there are quite a few other bigger things. Anything else that you're particularly looking at today?
Yeah. Well, two things. I'm watching my Houston Cougars behind me, but to my right, I have basically, okay, so when universal free meals went into effect, they started 2 years ago, that basically took out a funding mechanism for a lot of schools here in Minnesota. What they used to be able to do is rely on people applying to get free meals to then know exactly how many people who were in lower income brackets went to this school, and they'd get federal funding based on that. Well, now school meals are universally free. Nobody has to submit that paperwork, which means a lot of students and their families don't submit the paperwork, even though the schools need them to do that to get this federal funding, especially coming in. So right now, they don't necessarily know how many lower income students they have. There is now a task force that they are attempting to create and basically figure out how to fill that missing funding. A lot of school districts lost millions of dollars, and they're trying to get this fixed.
Okay. All right, Corin, we'll let you head out, and thanks again. All things Capital, we appreciate it. And today, obviously, oh yeah, go ahead.
So I told you I was watching my Houston Cougars. I did ask Governor Tim Walz who he picked for his March Madness winner, and he said the Houston Cougars.
No way.
Well, he went there for 2 years. It's my alma mater.
Oh,
he went there for 2 years.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, well, how are they doing?
They're winning by 30 last I checked.
Wow. So, okay, you might be onto something there.
At least today.
Oh, Natalie, unmute.
You're muted, but...
Okay, I got to put a plug in for the Cyclones. They play tomorrow. But I told Corin, I said I'm always cheering for the Big 12. So
there you go.
See.
The Cyclones.
We'll see you in the final. And
yeah. There we go.
All right. Well, we'll have to talk more March Madness tomorrow too. Whew, it's getting kind of hectic, as they say, right, Corin?
Getting kind of hectic.
All right, Corin. Appreciate
Thanks,
you.
Corin.
We'll talk to you later. We'll see you on Fox 9 News at 5 and 6. A little bit later. Okay. All right, Nat. Should we take a break?
Yeah, let's go to break. We'll come back after this.
Take a break. We'll be. All right, welcome back to All Day Live. I'm Amy Hockert. A little bit earlier, around 12:30, we got to bring you some of head coach PJ Fleck for Gopher football, and he was talking a little bit about spring workouts. Things are getting started there, and practice is going to get going soon. Our Dawn Mitchell is here as well. We're talking football. We're talking maybe not Gophers, but Vikings for sure. Sounds like we're kind of getting to know some of the newbies. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yesterday they had 3 of the guys, free agents, I should say, from defense that came in. So we met Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, and also Isaiah Rogers. So we had chats with them today, right now, as we speak. To physically sign. Some of them have and then have left already. So it's kind of a going back to 2020 and Zoom linking with these guys, but it's been fun. It's been fun. They're good guys.
Good. Well, I don't want to keep you too long because I know you gotta be listening to this stuff so you can get to know them a little bit too. But any first impressions of anybody that you've seen so far, or things that we should know about the guys coming in?
You know, what I really like about them is they're all saying that not only is it, especially on defense, not only is it Brian Flores that we want to come here and play for, we also love the team. They pay attention to those report cards. They say culture and how the families are treated and how they felt treated when they were wooing them. That all played a part. So, you know, the Vikings really have a great reputation around the league, and players want to come play here. And I think we're really seeing this, Amy, this year in the guys that they're signing. So, you know, we see it all the time. Oh, report cards, and it's a great place. But I think we're seeing the fruits of the labor now.
Yeah, there was somebody, I saw it somewhere on X, I think, where one of the guys got picked up in some kind of a car service or something. And did you see this? So, like, they had a little like welcome or something.
Yeah, just the little things, right? It doesn't. And one of them even said, you know, my wife really likes the fact that she's going to feel welcomed and included. And all of that. So it is the little things that matter.
Okay.
One of them,
go ahead.
Jonathan Allen, said that his agent and his publicist and I think his accountant, they're from the Twin Cities. So he's been here 3 times, once in the winter. And we're like, okay. He goes, well, it was the Super Bowl you hosted, so I know it gets cold.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, thanks for popping in. I want to let you go because I know how hard that is to try to do your job and then also try to talk to us. So you can go
worries.
do that. I know you're chill about it, but I'm stressed for you. So you go, and we've got other stuff we can go to too. So we'll look forward to hearing from you later tonight.
Well, I have plenty of time if you need me. Ahmad is babysitting that too. So
good.
I mean,
good,
if you have another question,
oh, and
that's
I know
fine with me.
You're writing today too. Do you have something coming up?
Well, we have Unscripted that's starting in April again, our fresh Unscripted. So we have a lot of great guests. We have some incredible Max Ekstad. I don't know if you've heard of him. He is a Savage native. He won the juniors championship for the Australian Open.
Yes,
he was
I remember
in the doubles
when this happened.
So
That's
he
huge.
came in. Yeah, Natalie Darwitz has sat down with me to talk. Rachel Banham. So we've got some great guests coming up once April hits. So that's what we're working on, making sure those are all put together for you.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
All right, Dawn. Well, thanks. It's good to check in with you. All right, we'll see you soon.
All right.
Literally,
thanks.
I'll be upstairs in a little bit. I'll see you soon.
Okay.
Okay, bye. All right, Natalie, we're going to roll right into the next interview here, do you think?
Yep, we will in just a second. I just got to pull it up.
You do what you got to do, and I'll start setting it up.
And we're ready to go. Here we go.
Okay.
Amy, if you want to set it up.
I'll just quickly set it up here in about 10 seconds. So the Transportation Safety Board of Canada released this preliminary report this morning on that Delta plane crash in Toronto that happened last month. The one that took off from MSP, was landing in Toronto, and then, as we all remember, flipped upside down, and we remember those images. Fortunately, everybody survived in that. Today, though, just a very small snippet of the bigger report that will be released much later, just about a 2-minute video. I don't think there was any Q&A or anything. So we wanted to do our own Q&A, and who better to do it with us than this familiar face that we've had on here on All Day Live. Matthew Wiz Buckley, former decorated Navy pilot, among many other accolades. Thanks for joining us, Wiz. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about some of the, I guess, are there any big takeaways from this preliminary findings?
Absolutely nothing, right? This is kind of a master of the obvious preliminary report. In aviation, the reason they do preliminary reports is in case there really is some big hazard, meaning a mechanical issue, right? A couple years ago when the 737-800 MAX was going through its stuff, those preliminary reports were critical because it said, hey, these things need to change like yesterday type of thing. But in aviation mishaps like this one, where it's almost guaranteed that it's pilot error, you're not going to get too much out of the preliminary report.
So it's interesting you say that, because as I take a look at just some of the bullet points here of what they did say, and again, you're saying it's very limited, but I'll just kind of read. So the report states several things occurred during touchdown. The plane's side stay, which is attached to the right landing gear, fractured and caused the landing gear to retract. This caused the plane to flip over and broke off the right wing. And then it kind of goes on in these details. As it kind of did break down some of the things that they are saying happened. I mean, you and I talked about this right after the incident. So did the plane seem to do what the plane should have done in that circumstance?
Well, the plane did exactly what the pilot flying the aircraft was inputting as far as control inputs. Let's recall it was runway 23, and the winds were from 270, so that's 40 degrees off of runway heading, and they were gusts, as you saw in the preliminary report, up to about 40 knots. Very sporty conditions, right? So an airliner has to crab into that wind, and then just before touchdown, kind of take the crab out so you can, land properly. They landed not properly, which is going. So the preliminary report is kind of reading like, yeah, we know kind of all these things happen. Why did they happen? Improper landing technique caused the right main landing gear to collapse. Main landing gear just don't collapse on their own. It's extremely rare. In the mishap report, they said, oh, we're still working on some meteorology or whatever that word is to double check the metal and all that type of stuff. But those things aren't designed to break. You need to come down pretty hard and sideways. And then everything that happened after that, it actually was supposed to happen, right? So when the landing gear collapsed, right wing hits, that rips off. Now you got a fireball. And then the left wing, the only wing left, is still developing lift. So of course it's going to start a roll like this because that wing's still flying. But I don't know if you and I talked about this in the past, but thank God it was into the snow, right? Because you saw the initial fireball, and the fireball kind of starts chasing the crash, and then it extinguishes itself. Why? Because of the snow. So thank God this landed in the snow. If this was a dry runway or a field, man, there would have been a lot more deaths.
So you'll have to remind me, what if anything do we know about the pilots in this situation? Training wise, I know obviously this preliminary report doesn't get into that. It looks like they're going to they put that on the table for the future. But what do we know at this point?
Well, all of us in the industry know exactly what happened. So we have a rusty captain. So the captain is a simulator instructor, meaning he works in the schoolhouse. So he works with new hires, does check rides. But if you work in the simulator building, you have to go fly every 90 days or whatever Endeavor's Air's requirements are. You got to get current, right? So he was out doing a currency hop. So he wasn't proficient in the airplane, and he was out trying to get his required landings and takeoff so he can go back to the schoolhouse and be an instructor. So they paired him on this flight with a very young, inexperienced young lady from the that's just a bad pairing. Rusty captain and a new hire. Now, technically, this young lady, she's got a piece of paper. I think she got it a month or two before this mishap that says, you're qualified. You are certified on this aircraft, which means you're certified technically in all weather conditions. But if I was doing crew scheduling for Endeavor, there's no way in hell I would have paired an out of current or not proficient captain with a brand new hire. But let me be blindingly clear. The only person responsible for this crash is the captain. It is not that young lady. right? The captain signs for the airplane. He or she is the ultimate authority. And if she started coming down like really bad, he should have ordered her to go around, add some power, or he should have taken control of the aircraft and gone around or tried to salvage the landing. The fact that he did none of those things means he is ultimately responsible. Even if she was flying the airplane, responsible.
Okay, and Wiz, you know, I talked about this right after it happened too, because it happened, and then the first press conference that was held in Toronto, the officials there said wind didn't have anything to do with this. There was the weather. They seemed to say the weather, and you and I had this conversation, and you said, look at the video, you can see the wind. So can we talk about weather? Because I didn't see anything sort of in the preliminary reports that would have pointed to that, but maybe I missed that.
Real quick, you were stepped on. I didn't hear all of that.
Oh,
sorry
sorry.
about that.
Okay. So Wiz, I'm just talking about the weather because you brought this up just a minute ago. When this initially happened, right afterward, there was a press conference in Toronto at the airport, and the officials there said wind does not appear to be a factor in this. And I can't remember if they said weather didn't, but I know for sure wind. And that evening, as a newsroom, we kind of looked at that and went, I don't even, can we report that? Because we can see with our eyes, we'd been taking it live all day long, that the wind was really blowing. In this preliminary report, do they address weather conditions and your thoughts on that?
No, they kind of allude to the weather conditions and that they're still kind of digging into it. So that guy, I think he was a first responder. I don't know if he was a cop or crash rescue guy. Absolutely clueless. Whenever there's a mishap, I grab my phone and I look at our aviation app and I look at the weather. It's the first thing I look at. And I could tell immediately that it was, gusty conditions, 35, 40 knots and 40 degrees off the runway. So that guy, clearly not an aviator. And I think they cleared that up pretty quickly, or somebody did a couple days later, like, oh, well, weather might have been a factor. So that was ready, fire, aim type of thing out of whoever that was. Weather was absolutely a factor. Blowing snow, as was the case in Toronto, can also give some visual illusions of you being higher than you are. So they're going to look into all these aerophysical issues with the aviators in the cockpits, because blowing snow can give you some visual illusions, and that might be part of it. But definitely sporty weather conditions. Even though it was clear out, it was windy and we had blowing snow. So those two things, as you and I have talked about, they're chains in a link. You take one of those chains out, the mishap doesn't happen. Sadly, well, everybody lived, so we're happy, but this mishap should not have occurred. I am still of the belief it's 1,000% pilot error. And the final report will detail all of this stuff. But the preliminary report is it's a little light. I think it's telling us that there was nothing majorly wrong with the aircraft. They're still trying to do the right main landing gear failed. Well, of course it's going to fail if you come down at 1,100 feet per minute. That RJ is supposed to land at about 500 to 600 feet per minute. So it was double the normal rate of descent. Landing gear really isn't designed for that. And a sideways shear factor landing in a crosswind.
Okay. Matthew Buckley, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for that insight. We'll talk to you again here when we get more information that comes out here in the course of the next year. Appreciate it.
You got it. God bless. Thanks.
Yeah, take care. All right, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. All Day Live continues right after this. All Day Live. Do you love reality TV as much as we love reality TV? Farmer Wants a Wife season premiere tonight on Fox 9. You can watch it right here. And we wanted to bring in a couple people. We want to bring in Paul Milgate, who is an executive producer with the Stream team here. Kind of new, right?
Yeah, relatively new compared to everyone else. I'm pretty fresh.
And then, are you going to join us, Natalie? Reluctant? I know you're not. I know you're not going to leave us hanging.
It's not reluctant. It's I'm learning all of this right now. There we go. $3. I got it.
$3. That's the one you have to.
I had to find my button.
Natalie is probably the biggest Farmer Wants a Wife fan I know.
Yeah, that's why I'm very excited to be part of the segment. Yeah. I love Farmer Wants a Wife. I used to love like The Bachelor and reality TV. I took a lot of years off, and then Farmer Wants a Wife came out in America. It's been, as Paul will talk about, in other countries for a long time. But I and my husband and I have a farm. We have a little hobby farm south of the metro. So we were so excited for the show, and I make him watch it, and he loves it, even though he might not admit it. So, Paul, you have so much to tell us. And you kind of worked a little on this season. I don't know how much you can say, but...
Yeah, well, so Farmer Wants a Wife is a show very close to my heart, actually. I worked on 3 series in Australia, season 10, 11, and 12. So that was a couple of years ago. And then I actually came over and worked on the last series of Farmer Wants a Wife here in the US. So I got to know all of the couples and the farmers on that one. And there's a couple of success stories from my series of Farmer Wants a Wife last year. So I don't know if you remember Mitchell and Sydney.
No, okay, sorry to interrupt you. And this Zoom thing is like hard, so I apologize if I'm stepping on you. But what makes a success story? Is it just the marriage or what?
Well, there's a couple of different, what we say, our key KPIs on Farmer Wants a Wife are successful relationships, and marriages is obviously a massive KPI. It's in the name, Farmer Wants a Wife. We would like the farmers to end up with wives. So while there's no marriages yet in the American series, after my 3 series in Australia, we actually have one marriage from the 3 that I did, but the numbers globally, so that's probably something that I should mention, is that around the world, Farmer Wants a Wife goes to air in 32 countries. It's been in 32 countries, and it's resulted in 226 marriages. And wait for this is the real kicker, 565 babies with 4 on the way. So Farmer Wants a Wife is unquestionably the most successful dating show in the world.
Okay, and a lot of people watching this, like when I met you and talked about this with you, you know, I was like, wait a second, this is happening in Australia. Tell us where else this is happening, and is it similar? Is it the exact same thing, or is it kind of a little different depending upon where?
So the format that we know and love that's on Fox tonight, 8 p.m. Central, that format is similar to the format we have in Australia. So that version of the show comes from Australia. But the format exists in other countries in a whole bunch of different ways. The show was really hugely successful in Portugal. They were doing something like 60 episodes a year. So that's a very sort of observational documentary, really just follows what's going on. At one point, I believe Farmer Wants a Wife was the most successful reality show in Sweden, of all places. And their format was slightly different. They would send Swedish ladies to farmers that lived in other countries. So there was like a Swedish farmer that lived in South Africa, and they bundled up 4 or 5 Swedish girls and sent them to South Africa. They sent them to Australia. They sent them all around the world to see whether they could find those Swedish farmers' love. And then we were discussing the other day, it's quite fun. The name is even different in different countries. The format's kind of the same. In France, I believe that the direct translation is Love in the Field.
I love that so much. That's so great. Do you have any like fun stories about, because you produced it, which doesn't mean you sat behind a computer and did this. Like you were really in with the contestants. And
that's what I want to know about. You know them, right?
Yeah. So it's a really sort of, you really get invested in their lives. You get invested in their relationships. You want them to succeed because your life, it takes up a lot of your time when you're making a show like this, and you become very invested. But there's just something so special when you get to be present for when someone meets their future spouse and you see the beginnings of love. Like, I saw that last series with Mitch and Sydney. I was there with them. I saw it with Taylor and Nathan. I was there with them when that happened. There's something really special about getting to be a part of that moment in someone's life.
Okay, we have like 30 seconds left in this hour. Will you come back? Will you come back and talk to us?
Yes.
Again?
How about I'm your Farmer Wants a Wife correspondent for the rest of the series while it's on? I'll make sure I wear plaid every single day.
Natalie, you're muted. We have like 20 seconds.
You guys, oh my gosh, I'm learning here. But you have to come back. Who knows? We'll give a little update. Okay, we only have about 10 seconds.
Okay.
Amy,
you, Paul.
if you want to.
Thank you,
Paul.
Natalie. You're the
Make
best.
sure you watch Farmer Wants a Wife tonight, 8 p.m. Central.
All right, we'll see you. We'll see you tomorrow. All Day Live continues. And Paul's coming back. Don't worry, everybody. We love hearing from Paul. And thank you for these, Carrie. Thank you, Carrie.
Like any resolutions, set your goals and be able to measure progress and stick to it. Easier that way. Thanks for joining us. Sherry's next. The news continues on Fox Local on your smart TV with Amy and company. And I'll see you again tomorrow for our Friday.